Welcome you all to the 12th edition of the EFMD Global Fair, powered by Hired. My name is Luis, and I'm very happy to welcome you to the webinar Employer Expectations, hosted by Potentialpark. Today, we are very pleased to have Antonieta Fitch, Global Talent Specialist from Potentialpark. And during this 45-minute session, you will gain insights into what top employers looks for in early career talent. I look forward to this interactive and engaging session and to learn more about how to align skills, mindset, and digital presence with employer expectations to stand out in this very competitive market. Now, I will give the screen to Antonieta. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Luis. I don't know if everyone can hear me, but I'm super happy to be here with all of you today. Thank you for that great introduction. And yes, I look forward to talking to all of you exactly about what Luis just explained, how to understand what employers are looking for, but also what you can then use to leverage how you move forward with your career search. So maybe we can go back to the beginning. Oops. There we go. Thank you so much. So welcome. I want to know where all of you are connecting from and joining us from. I am joining you all from sunny Stockholm. So, well, not so sunny today, actually. It looks bright, but it's covered in rain today. So I want to see where all of you are connecting from to see if we're all joining from different parts of the world. And feel free to also just type in your questions in the chat. I will address them at any point. So if we don't have time to cover them during the different slides that we go through, we will then just make sure to answer all of your questions in the end. So just send them in the chat as soon as you have a question. You don't need to wait till the end, but we will have some time at the end. Oh, nice, Amsterdam. We see some answers coming in already. France, great, perfect. Nice. It's so nice to meet you all and, have you here connected. So, but we're ready to go exactly through the slides now. This is what I'll walk you through. I'll talk to you a little bit about Potentialpark. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Potentialpark. It might be the first time you're hearing about us. Maybe you've already heard about Potentialpark. You've participated in some of our online events, or you have received some information about us from Hired or from your university. But if you haven't, then I will make sure that you get to know Potentialpark today. Then I will explain a little bit about what we call talent communication, which is a topic that Potentialpark takes very seriously. We will also go through how you can influence employers and what employers are doing and how they basically build all of their expectations on candidates. Then we will go through a couple of interesting questions and different topics to make sure that we and you understand what your career path is. So do you know what you're going? Do you know what employers expect? But also let's make sure that you can deliver on those expectations for employers, but based on exactly where it is you want to end up. So also information navigation. So what are the different places where you can go to obtain different types and sources of information? I will also share with you some best practices and examples of these top employers that are communicating, or talent-friendly employers that we call them at Potentialpark. And then, we'll have a discussion at the end. So at Potentialpark, we believe in the future of work where every person has the right place and the opportunities to grow and develop to their full potential. So at the end of the day, what we want to make sure is that you as a candidate find the right place where you can develop, you can grow, and you can see a career path and develop all of your skills in the right way that you want. And you will see this QR code pop up a few times in the presentation. And this is a QR code that will take you to the Potentialpark study for 2026, because we're already collecting some of the 2026 insights into what young candidates and young professionals like you are after when it comes to the job search and the job application process. So we want to really understand how is it that you look for jobs? What kind of information are you looking for when you are researching an employer? And then that way we can help make sure that your voice gets to the table of employers so that they're actually answering the questions you have you have for them and the questions that you're looking for when you're browsing their career channels. So Potential Park has been a leader in the telecommunication industry for over 20 years. And our goal is to bring the voice of the candidates to employers, all through insights, knowledge, and in the end of the day, to shape the future of telecommunication. We do this through our yearly study, and we hope to then be able to collect all of your expectations, make sure that then the employers that are in our sphere are implementing them, and that you can have a smooth and great application and job application and job search experience. Um, but yeah, I wanted to share a little bit more about what some of the employers are doing with this data. Uh, so, for example, here we have this is Nokia. They were at an event where they presented the importance of using candidate insights, meaning that it's important for you to understand, for you as candidate to understand what employers are looking for in candidates, but it's just as important for employers to know how to communicate with candidates, how to directly engage with you as a young professional, because at the end of the day, you are the future of all of these companies, and it's important that they know how to communicate and approach you. So this was a really cool slide that we had at this event where, this company was quoting one of you or one of the insights that we've received from our research, and you can see that these are some of the other talent-friendly employers that we like to talk about that we see are doing great work to achieve good talent communication. But I won't bore you with the methodology. This is just a little bit of how we do the research. We want to make sure that through this survey, we're collecting the right insights, and then we go and evaluate employers to see if all of these employers are actually communicating the information that you are after. And this is what last year's study looked like. We had 30,855 responses all over the world, with over 70 countries participating in this study. And at the end of the day, we have one giant set of data that we take with us, we share with your universities, we share back with you as a candidate, and then we share with employers to make sure that they're answering all of the questions you're looking for. But now let's dive into the juice of this webinar, if that makes sense. But companies will provide a lot of information, and I know that it's a very daunting world out there when you're looking for a job or looking for an employer, researching an employer, and you are just swamped with so much information. And how do you filter it? How do you decide what you can trust? What is important information? What do you prioritize? What are the sources you should be using? What are the sources you should be trusting? It's a big world out there full of information. So I would like to guide you and maybe have you go through this journey with me as we navigate this. And the first thing I would like you to ask yourself is, do you know where you want to go? Because all of these companies, like I said, will give you so much information, but you need to make sure that you're following the right information path for what you are after. So if you know what your end goal is at this company or for your career, then that will help you navigate all of the information that they have available. So figure out what it is that you want to do, what is a career path you should take, and then how does that impact your employability? We want to make sure that you can unlock your future so that at the end of the day, remember, your employability is the mix of your skills, experience, and network. So this employability will help you open up doors into your future, but I know that we got to start somewhere. So let's make sure that we do that. What do employers expect? Well, they expect a lot of things, right? They expect that the right candidate applies to the right job, but it doesn't always work like that. And I think that it doesn't fall on the side of the candidate to decide what job is right for them. I think this is a two-sided communication that needs to happen. Employers need to communicate explicitly and provide the right information so that you as a candidate can make the right decision. So in order to do that, I wanted to share with you 7 different tips or 7 different data points or key points for you to be able to guide yourself or go through that decision-making process and identify if these are some of the things that this employer, for example, um, is right for you based on all of these different data points, basically. So because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that this is a match for you, for the employer, that there is growth for you. You want to have that employability. You want to develop those skills, that network that can then take you into your future. So the 7 different data points or the 7 different focus areas that we know are super important for candidates and also where employers spend a lot of time and effort making sure that they clarify to communicate are when it comes to information about salaries. So we know that not every employer is starting to communicate this. There is an EU directive, so for you in Europe, you will see that this will start kicking in 2026, where more employers will have to be transparent about salaries, and they will stop being able to ask questions to candidates about salary. Now everything will have to be more transparent. There's a lot of microsites and student sections, graduate sections that you can use to find information to make sure that this is the right match for you. Then there are a lot of development opportunities. Sometimes these come in the form of testimonies or little videos where you can see different experiences of internal growth, of actual employee experiences to see how did they navigate and how have they navigated their time at the company to make sure that they've achieved the goals where they've set for themselves and that they're growing to their potential. Then it's also important to look at facts and information about the company just to make sure that this is the right place where you want to be, that this is actually a match. Then information about the profiles that the companies are looking for. Because I think it's very easy for us to fall into the trap of an engineering company needs engineers. So if I'm an engineer, I should be looking at engineering companies. But a lot of the times there are other employers that might not be as obvious to us in a specific industry or field that have the need to recruit certain profiles that might be exactly what you're looking for. So we have, let's say, for example, there might be, let's take an actual company. Let's take L'Oreal in France. They are very popular. I'm sure that a lot of women know them, a lot of maybe people in marketing would like to work there, but they also struggle to recruit other profiles, right? I mean, they need other jobs. They have scientists that work for them to develop different formulas and different things, but they also have other types of workers and they have people in accounting and finance. So sometimes it's easy for us to leave out of the option list companies that we don't think might have a need for us. So I want to make sure that everyone keeps this in mind. Let's look at what profiles these companies are recruiting, because you might find more opportunities than you ever thought about. Then a couple of different tips and interviews for tests and interviews. Some companies have these already on their career websites. Maybe this isn't something new. Maybe this is something you already knew, but some provide big and thorough guides on how to prepare for interviews, how to make sure that you are ready and prepared for their assessment tests. Then you can go directly onto their websites and read about this in the application process. But also the importance of skills-based hiring and soft skills. I know there's a big debate about soft skills and calling them soft skills. In this case, we will call them soft skills, but I also want to call them transferable skills or just skills-based hiring, because there's so much more than just focusing on someone that can do this particular job. It's more about the ability of being able to do the job rather than what is the skill that you have or that this job needs. So yeah, all of this information, I think, is information that we recommend candidates to always look for when they're making a decision process or when they're researching an employer, to make sure that they get a full picture of what being at the company might look like, or what the recruitment process could be and the experience internally. And many employers have a dedicated career FAQ section somewhere on their career website. So this is something that we definitely recommend exploring. But we know that we're in the time of AI as well. So sometimes, or you might even be skipping the career website from the beginning, going into different AI chats or AI tools, assistants like ChatGPT or Perplexity. So how many of you have actually already done that, where you've either searched for an employer or asked what jobs are available or searched for a job or researched an employer using AI. Maybe we can get that in the chat. Have any of you ever done that before? I think we might see answers come in as we move on. But the importance of salary information, this is something you can sometimes find on the career website. A lot of the times you find it directly on the job description or the job ad. So let's make sure that you know and that you're looking for these things on there. Yes, okay, Paolo has done it. Yes, no, oh, just did it last night. Great. Yeah. You asked ChatGPT. Did you get any good answers, or how was that experience? For any of you that have said that you have used AI to find this information, was it a positive experience? Was it a negative experience? Did you get anything? Did you find what you were looking for? Maybe we can also keep seeing your insights there. But there's a lot of places where you can find salary information, and a lot of the times it can be very helpful, but other times it can be very generic salary ranges where they post unrealistic ranges just to tick off the checklist of, yeah, we communicated a salary range. But then you know that when an employer actually communicates a little bit more transparently and forward on what the starting ranges or for the different positions might be, this is an employer that you can trust a little bit more than maybe the others that keep all of this information secret and close to themselves. So here I have a couple examples. I promised examples. So we have examples of some employers that communicate about this very openly on their website. So even before you've applied to a position, you know what the compensation model looks like in the company and what it might be for that position. So I know that there were we have some people joining us from France. So then you will recognize on the top right corner, we have Decathlon that shares information about salary ranges and the salary that you can expect on the first year. And then as you grow in the company, what that means for, a raise and so on. And then we also have information here at the bottom about Philip Morris and how they communicate the starting salary and all of the other benefits that they have, like flexible working, private medical insurance. This was for them in the US. Oh, no, I think this actually is in the UK. But, look at all of this information because a lot of employers already share it and have it available. And this is, I think, a step in the right direction. So you know that if an employer, sometimes if an employer doesn't communicate, it doesn't mean that this is a bad employer or a bad place to work or that they're just not communicating. But it's something that I think it's up to you to make that decision and see, is this a place where you would like to spend more time researching and talking to before you even know what you can expect to get back from them and from this position. Then we have microsites or the student sections or graduate sections, which have grown in popularity. These a few years ago were not so popular, they were not so common, but over time we've seen them actually become much more relevant. I think also in a time of AI, they have become even more so, where AI is, all of these different AI tools are pulling information from the career website. So that's what I want to reinforce with all of you. If anything, the company career website will be a really rich source of information. And you can go and look at all of the other platforms, like review platforms as well, to get a better sense of what it would be being at that company. But the career website provides a lot of information as well. But going back to the microsites or the graduate sections, these are all siloed journeys, let's say, on the career website, because if we were to put if employers were to put all of the information they want to communicate with every single target audience, it would just become very cluttered. So this is a good way to follow the journey as an engineer. So for example, if you're an engineer, if you want to work at Nokia and they have profiles for marketing, engineering, and then operations, then if I'm an engineer, there's no reason for me or no need for me to be looking at what the journey of someone working in marketing is if I am not interested in marketing and I don't have a background in marketing, but I want to know what it's like to work at Nokia as an engineer. So these microsites provide a lot of relevant information for the target group that they're trying to address. And yeah, they've become ever so important. And now we've noticed that over 90% of the talent-friendly employers that we like to talk about have them. So this is a huge success because we've been able to help them improve thanks to your insights as candidates, making sure that all of these employers are actually out there um, communicating and sharing the information that is relevant for you. And I just wanted to explain at the bottom here on the yellow box at the bottom right corner, you will see a couple of names. These are employers that have what I'm talking about here. So if I'm talking about the microsites, these are some examples of international employers that have all of these examples. And then here are some of the screenshots of these. So you can see the different student sections and graduate sections to make sure that you can navigate in the journey you're after. It's also important to look at the different development opportunities at a company because it might look different in a lot of companies. So for one company, development and growth might be upskilling. For others, it might be tuition assistance. So make sure that you look into what the different programs mean for them and what are the benefits that they offer or the different opportunities that you would get internally if you were wishing and hoping to upskill and develop, which of course I hope that everyone would at some point in the company. If you have the opportunity to go through certification processes or take courses, trainings, a mobility program, if that's something that is part of the company, or if they're happy to help you cover any future studies. And yeah, if there's any other open information that you can use, or if they're a little bit more flexible with this development path where you can decide how you want to develop and they would just support you in achieving that development. And like I said, at the bottom, at the top right corner, you have the QR code to answer to be part of the survey, answer the questionnaire, and make sure that you share your insights with employers. You will see some open answered questions. Those quotes go directly to employers. So we collect them and then we make sure to share all of those with them. So if you have a second and actually answer them, it would actually be super helpful for them to know how to improve and become better. Here we have a couple of, here we have one example of development opportunities at the company. This is all about improving your skills and then helping you build a plan to develop in the way that you would like to develop. I will speed up a little just because I think I started a little slow at the beginning there. But then career FAQs. Like I said, the careers FAQs, frequently asked questions, have a lot of rich information that other people have asked. And I mean, a lot of the times, I think if you have a question based on the information they've provided or the lack of information, it's pretty safe to say and assume that other people have had that question too. And hopefully someone has at least reached out to ask this question and now they've answered it on their website. So this is a great section to really get to know an employer. It provides you with an even more, a richer experience or a richer insight into their transparency or just their efforts. So you can read a little bit more about the application process. A lot of the times they might not explain that once you apply or directly on the job ad, but in the FAQs, they will have all of these different questions answered, accessible to a more general public, so not necessarily so hidden away. Then sometimes they also communicate more information about the selection process. What can you expect? Are you going to have to wait 2 weeks, 2 months to hear back from them? If you don't hear back in the first week, does that mean they're never going to get back to you? Or is this just a super long recruitment process? So this is a really good place to learn a little bit more about all of the unanswered questions you might still have after reading through either their social media or navigating their career page. And then also they tend to have some information about working at the company. Then, yeah, so here we have also a couple of different employers that are really good at highlighting career FAQs. But I think, yeah, if we have some questions, it would be good to get them some relevant questions on the topic, if we can get them there on the screen. Oh, yeah. Great question, Paula. Cover letters. I think, what do you think? Great. I do know that I do know that cover letters are read. Yeah. Hmm. Well, I think it's really important to put a cover letter because it gives you the opportunity to then shine a little bit more or show your personality more than the CV, maybe than your CV would allow. It's also an opportunity to really express your own uniqueness for that role. But it's some of the problems that employers are having nowadays come with a lot of applications. So I think that employers are starting to see a lot of AI generated applications, and they can very easily tell when if they get hundreds of applications now and 90% of them are using the same language or look very closely, very similar, then they're starting to get better at recognizing what is an AI application and then where's the personal touch. So my advice would be always continue to include a cover letter because and make sure that it's something where you can shine and where your personality shows and you contribute a little bit more to where you ask the question, what do you bring to this team? What would you bring to this role? And communicate that with the recruiter. I think that would be my advice. A lot of people don't include them, but I think this is an opportunity if you do to then shine through. Yeah, if you can't find this information, I think you should definitely contact them, especially if you have any questions. A lot of employers are very good at providing a a way to get in touch with them, either through a recruitment or a like the recruiter's email or a generic or a general info email for recruitment. And this is a really good way to make sure that you're spending the time to apply to the right place, because at the end of the day, what we want to make sure and everyone wants to make sure is that you're not spending hours researching an employer and preparing to apply to a job and for an interview at a company where at the end of the day you didn't realize this was not the job you didn't want, right? Like you thought the job was going to be like this, but in reality, once you're going through an interview, you realize that they weren't clear about what they were looking for. So I think it's great questions. What is essential to include in a cover letter? I think, I'm sure people would tell you a lot of things, so definitely take in all the advice. I can only share what we have seen is important, and it's important to take this as an opportunity. So I want to flip the question and not necessarily tell you what you must include in a cover letter, but rather how should you think about the cover letter? I think when you're writing a cover letter, you should make sure that if you put your CV and your cover letter together, they speak a little bit more about you and how you fit in this role and the company. So that you use this as an opportunity to pitch yourself essentially to the recruiter before you get an interview. So this is the first communication avenue you will have with the company before you're invited to an interview. So how are you going to make sure that your profile shines, that your experience shines, that your skills shine through, and reflect that you are someone that they should be speaking to because you are the right person for this job? I know that we also get a lot of questions about um, we get a lot of questions about how many jobs should you be applying to, but I think that there's no volume counts, but at the end of the day, I think it's more about the quality of your application rather than sending in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of AI generated applications. So again, here, this is what the career FAQs page might look like. Some employers have very advanced sections and pages where you can type in a question and then it will link you to the answer. And then others have more standard frequently asked question sections where they have the questions and then all the different types of questions and then answers directly under there. Then they also provide information about profiles, the profiles that we're looking for. This is this sometimes includes the qualities or the backgrounds or the future goals. We've seen employers shift a little bit more from just generic job descriptions to actually being a little bit more open, thinking outside of the box, and listing some of the qualities of the ideal applicant for this position, meaning that they might not need an engineer or they might need someone that has an engineering background but that is flexible and has transferable skills. And then there are some really cool career matching quizzes as well that you can find out there in some company pages that might help you decide how to navigate internally. So this is an example of KPMG showing the the basic requirements, also with the career path, but also some of the different qualities of the right fit of a company. So you need to have certain career motivation, and they have a couple of questions that they want to make sure that you answer for yourself. And if this is you, then great, because then you might be the person they're looking for. Also, certain drive, certain technology leverage, right? They want someone that is doesn't need to know everything, but is fast to learn or fast to adapt to learn, or a resilient performer, because this might be a job where you need to achieve and overcome a lot of different goals. And if it doesn't happen, how will you react? And if it does happen, how will you take it? So, yeah, a lot of the profiles of not necessarily for a job, but to be at the company. So, company fit from a little bit of a wider perspective, not necessarily on a value perspective. Then we have a couple of tips and for interviews and tests. And this is something that a lot of candidates actually didn't know, or when we talked to them, weren't aware of. So that companies already provide you a list, or again, I say companies, and I know that I'm speaking for a lot of them. There might be employers that don't do this, but we've seen that a lot of employers do provide them. List of processes or information to help you prepare for an interview and for all of throughout the recruitment process. So they want to make sure that you are successful from the day one, but it might take a little bit of looking into them and research to make sure that you get to this information. So a lot of them have information about how to introduce yourself at the interview, how to make, they have a guide on what are the different things they would like to know from you from day one. They outline the process step by step, provide different resources to prepare as well, break down the different stages and the information that is relevant at each stage. So before the interview, during the interview, after the interview. Some of them might even have information about the cover letter. So I would suggest that you go and read their tips and for interview and tests and see if there's anything either in the frequently asked questions or in these tips that can help you prepare to make sure that you're applying to that company in the best way. So I remember seeing one of these tips that said after the interview, you should email the recruiter and thank them, have a quick, just thank you for that and include this and this and this. But again, some of it might seem like very generic information that everyone was like, oh, I was already going to do that, of course. But the fact that it's already there for those that might not know that, I think speaks very well of, the company in this process, because as a young job seeker and job applicant, this is a very new world. Maybe you haven't, every company is different. They have different expectations. So how can you know how to meet their expectations if they haven't communicated them? So I think it's very important to recognize the employers that are being very transparent about this. So again, how to prepare for a job interview. Maybe this is not always very pretty displayed, right? Like it could be a nicer experience to look at, but then other companies here have quick videos on how to prepare for the interviews, examples, and the STAR method on how to go through and answer interview questions. But then next we have skills-based hiring, which is the last of our 7 tips, if I'm not wrong. So, skills based hiring. Um, Here, I would like you, when you're doing this, I would like you to list down the skills you think you have, or the skills that you're confident in, and then go through the ones that are on the job description or in the job profile and compare them to your own. Do they align with your own goals, like with your own skills, current skills, or your future skills? Do you have any future skills or a desire for certain future skills? Meaning, maybe you are starting to learn to code, but you would like to learn a specific language. Great. So, if you would like to be there, maybe this is something that is already important for the job. So, you might not be the best fit for that job right now, but there might be other jobs internally at that company where you could grow into and use those internal learning resources to make sure that you get to the level that you want to be. Um, and at the end of the day, you can also ask yourself a little bit more about the soft skills. Um, are those a great fit for the company? But do you have any transferable skills? Meaning, if you know how to do a specific job, just because you don't have the background or the experience doing the job title, that doesn't mean you would not be able to do the job. So we've seen the shift in companies posting very rigid job titles with very specific and rigid career progression. And we've started now uh, seeing that there's a lot more of internal mobility, a lot of also cross field movement because of the skills. So we have a lot of transferable skills, and this is something that has been part of the conversation now for a little bit of time. It still needs to pick up because there are jobs that just because if you know how to do X, then those are the skills you need to do job Y. So there's a lot of back and forth there. So here we have this example of like drive, quality, critical thinking skills. Those sound very generic. Career motivation, and here like they list some of them and what it means. But I also wanted to share on the top right corner we have the example of Axel Springer, where they were looking for a um, backend developer, I believe, and they listed some of those skills, like very specific, like these are the skills we need, almost in like a menu. So people were able to say, okay, yeah, I have this, I have this, I have this. But then, are there any here that you would like to learn? So it was a very interesting way to break down the experience instead of saying we need a background, we need someone that has a background of a couple of years of this experience. These are the skills you need to have. And if this is your first job and you have these, great. If you've had 2 jobs and these are your skills, great, you're welcome to apply. We just want to make sure that the person that can step in into this role has the ability to complete these tasks and has these tools in their toolbox. So they put it together in a really cool way, all about using the right tools to do the job. So if you have those tools in your toolbox, then perfect, you might be right for the job. And if you don't have those tools in your toolbox yet, then maybe it's time for you to start thinking about where do you want to be in the next couple of years? What are some of the skills you should be working to acquire? And to make sure that at the end of the day, when you're ready to get there, that's an opportunity for you. So, like I said, employers will provide you all sorts of information. It's just important that you know exactly what you're looking so you can filter out what is relevant for you and what is not relevant. It can be very overwhelming out there, so don't get me wrong. A lot of the times they provide a lot of information, but then the key information is still missing. So let's make sure that you know exactly where to go, that you know what the right channels for you are. I'm not discouraging you from using AI. I think that's a really cool way of getting a lot of information from multiple sources in one place at the same time. So definitely go ahead, use it. It's fantastic. It gets smarter and smarter every time. Just make sure that then you go back and you double check what the sources are, that you then fact check everything that is happening and that is being said to you. Is this what companies are actually communicating about themselves? Is this how they're talking about their career progression? Is this how they're talking about that specific job that I'm interested in? because there might be some differences in the way or the sources of all of this information, or some of it being outdated. So let's make sure that you are reviewing information about salaries, because this can be very important to some, even a deal breaker. um, then that you are aware of the microsites or the student or graduate sections. That might be a really cool starting point for some of you entering into the labor force and finishing your studies, or maybe you already worked and you went back to studying, and now you want to make sure that you follow in the career path of your studies. This is a great opportunity to find different opportunities that align with your current skills or a potential path. Then look into the development opportunities at the company, because I think no one likes to be stuck in the same place forever. So let's make sure that the place where you might find your opportunity to develop further actually gives you that opportunity, that you have resources to use and utilize to grow your own skills, your own employability. Um, then that you read the facts and information about the company, because if this is not a right fit for you, then maybe there's no point in um, learning more about them, if for ethical reasons or for other diversity, equity, inclusion reasons, or there might be a multitude of reasons for this not to be a fit for you. Then find information about what profiles are right for the company, because cultural fit is super important. And a lot of the times, I think that gets dismissed, but it can either make or break your time at a company if you just don't feel like that's the right place for you, um, or if you don't feel welcome there, and so on. But I think this is super important also to research. Then, and these can all be either researched and looked up by you, or you can get the help of AI and then just make sure you confirm them. Tips for interviews and tests. So, what is the employer? What is this company saying about their process? What's the advice that they're giving you as an applicant into their world? What are they saying about the cover letter? So I will throw it back to you, and have your own assumptions. But then what are they saying? If they're not saying anything, then maybe you just continue as usual, or you will decide to not include one. Um, so make sure you read some of these tips, because they have a lot. In a lot of cases, they have very valuable information. And then soft skills. So let's stop thinking about a job from a job title and role, and think more about what are the skills that you have acquired and have the power and ability to do. And I think this way we're all going to feel much more fulfilled, see much more development opportunities, and maybe even a faster career progression, because we're not going to move from job title to job title, but we're going to move from skill to skill and upskill from there. So I think what I want to say, and what I think my parting advice would be, take control of your own future, because your employability is the most important thing you have out there. And I hope that these little tips help you put all of it together, right? Like, look for that information and keep your employability in mind. Let's make sure you're not settling for a place that won't let you grow, that will not give you the ability to grow your skills, or feel like this is a place for you. And in order for this to happen, I think you need to answer again the question we asked at the beginning. Do you know where you want to go? Because once you do, once you figure out, or what is the path you want to take, where do you want to be in a couple of years, then it's up to you to decide, what do you do next. So, like I said, take control of your employability, grow your skills, your experience, and don't forget to grow your network. It's never too early. So, yeah, and find the place where you belong. So, now we have time for questions. If you haven't taken the survey, please do so. Um, and I will be here for questions. How should I reach out to recruiters when there's an option? I mean, if there's an option, I think email is always a great opportunity, or LinkedIn, unless you have a really urgent question and then you want to call them. But I think giving them the ability to get back to you is great. Portfolios, yeah, I think they're maybe more relevant in some industries, in some areas. Um, so I think find let's I think look into the career tips section or the FAQs. Also, other review platforms, so Indeed or Glassdoor. You know, what are other people that have applied set in there? That's a really good place to see also what could be worth it. So, yeah, if you have a portfolio that could help you, definitely, I think this applies. Maybe it's more common in other in certain areas or industries. Great. Yeah, again, I don't think anyone is supposed to meet 100% of the requirements because then you're then overqualified for the job, right? I think we should all apply, like, it just apply for the job, even if you don't meet all of the requirements. There will be some growth in the learning opportunity for you. And because after all, once you've mastered that job, you want to move on to the next set of skills. So if you have all of the skills and you're not going to learn any new skills from it, then maybe that's, you know, you don't want to be stuck in a job. So uh, I would challenge you to not think in a percentage, but rather, can you do that job in a confident way and still learn something, or how will you take it to the next step and make it also a little bit of a learning opportunity for you? So yeah, always. Yeah, I think that's always a good, interesting question. I would say, of course, if there are multiple roles that fit your profile, go ahead. I would advise you, maybe my advice would be to then make sure that you don't spam with applications because that can then, there, a lot of the ATS systems can also filter out multiple applications for similar jobs. So, yes, maybe make sure you give it a little bit of time, or, it depends on how frequent. But I think if you definitely, if there are opportunities that you fit, where you fit into that company, you should definitely explore them. Maybe just keep it to a reasonable number. I know it's tricky. Um, oh, I don't know. For any legal things, then I think you just need to talk to the company or see what are other people with similar experiences saying on, um, let's say, like Glassdoor, like these review platforms where maybe you can have a better interaction with people that have gone through the recruitment experience. But unfortunately, I'm not sure with any legal
Ready?
requirements. Great.
Well, thank you so much, Antonieta, for joining us and providing these great insights as always. And to the students, our next webinar, it will be hosted by ESCP London and will take place at 12 o'clock. They will be talking about how to write a standout CV with AI. Thank you so much for coming and have a very nice day.